Our first day in Tennessee, we went to Adams to meet town historian Tim Henson. He gave us a grounding in the lore and let us investigate the Bell Family Museum. While our night was eventful, I didn't feel like the beings we communicated with were tied directly to the entity we were attempting to contact. It felt like our investigation had existed comfortably in the worldview of the white cisgender men who wrote the story down in the first place, so we decided to take a step back from that narrative. For our second investigation day, we headed to Nashville, where I had lined up a series of interviews with queer and trans people with magical spiritual practices in order to get a better understanding of what queer Southern magic actually is. We had planned to finish the day with another investigation out at the Kings Bluff Cliffs, located in Clarksville, Tennessee, on the same limestone deposit I had been told was associated with the Bell Witch. I had hoped our interviews would help us make sense of our investigations that evening, but there was no way I could have anticipated how those two paths would converge, pulling us into a ritual we had no idea we had already begun performing.
Tennessee's complicated. I know everything's complicated, but Tennessee is just very weird. Put it this way, when I was in college, when I talked to other freshmen, depending on what part of the country they came from or what part of Tennessee they came from, they would say, this is the most conservative place I have ever lived, or this is the most leftist place I have ever lived. There's no in between.
It's the first time I've ever lived in a place where really intense evangelical right-wing views were more mainstream.
Luckily, my parents growing up were very real with me about the world, so they're like, it's gonna be hard for you because you're not a man, you're not white, you're not this, you're not that. So I've always had a very practical view of those things.
I mean, again, not like people haven't called me fag on the street before, but it feels a little scarier here because I feel like it is supported very much by the culture and by the government.
Nashville has a larger spiritual community than most people would think.
Right.
And what I have witnessed is more people coming together, and they're coming out more and being a little more vocal about who they are and what they want.
The reason I kind of broke away from the church, like a lot of gay trans people, was because of being gay and being trans and just kind of like homophobia, transphobia.
You know, if it's not going to be acceptable, then it's sort of like being pushed out of the church and a certain religion. So
It's always like, are they gonna like the part of me that is gay? Are they gonna like the part of me that is this, that is that?
I really struggled as a young person to even want to have anything to do with anything that looked like faith at all. And I've always had a sort of like internal bristling towards group joining and like believing in stuff, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna like join this belief system. And, you know, at some point in my life, particularly in my 30s, after I started to be dealing with like chronic illness and stuff, really had to like reinvent what faith means and divorce it from like the Catholic Church, for example. You know, this is like my lineage.
and then, but that evolved over time. I mean, now my path is more American folk magic, a little bit hoodoo oriented. So it took me back to the Bible.
I am bad at religion. And also, again, because there's a lot of complicated politics around immigrant identity from countries like Myanmar, where they came from, you know, like violent diaspora and stuff like that, and around assimilation to whiteness in America and assimilation to survive. And so we were sort of told growing up, like, I mean, we would do Burmese things, but we were told we needed to be like, you know, quote unquote real Americans. So we weren't taught the language. I wasn't really taught the prayers, but we were still expected to do certain things, like still expected to not eat pork, expected to observe certain behaviors, certain kinds of filial piety, stuff like that. And honestly, like, a lot of it was sort of not good. And I kind of grew up bucking that a lot.
I'm trying to learn to bring them together because I obviously still have a very strong connection to God, but just trying to figure out how I can bring my craft and him together, because I was taught for so long that magic is of the devil and it's bad, so it's not supposed to do with God.
Accepting myself and not like seeing who I am as like sin has just kind of like opened my eyes to like what is not sin that is part of the world and what is just like humanness. And it has made me kind of like appreciate the world and open up more, if that makes sense.
A low vibe, like negative expression of faith is certainly like giving over your power to authority without questioning. But an internal experience of faith is really about like having wonder and reverence for the incredible enormity of the universe and all of nature and the world, and like not being so narcissistic to think that you know everything all the time.
We call ourselves Episcopagan.
It's just like this general, I don't even want to say apathy, just non-existent awareness that could even be a possibility. And I think that speaks to a lot of queer experience in the South, but also specifically queer spiritual experience and magical experience.
Sometime in the queer community, we don't feel accepted in society, and we don't fit into these rules and these norms. And in magic, I don't have to fit into those either. So, you know, that is a place I can be myself and do things my way and experience spirit and energy and magic in my own way. And I don't have to follow anyone's rules, so.
I don't think I ever think about it, except for maybe a positive of having a balance of masculine and feminine energy.
Sure.
Other than that, I've really never thought about how it affects it.
I think it affects me more, you know. It's like when I'm working at my altar myself, doing my own magic and whatever, you know, I got my gay on. You know, that's me right there. So.
And I was sitting by a river one day and I just heard a voice very clearly, and that wasn't the first time I've heard a voice. That was like, why have you been putting this off your whole life? Like, you know you're a witch, you know you're supposed to be looking into these things, bettering yourself, looking deeper, and then from there, here I am.
I think like all trans people are inherently like master manifestors, even if they have no idea about that or relationship to it, because at least in my sort of definition or view of manifestation, it starts with a felt experience. It starts with emotion and being connected to a certain energy. And as far as my understanding of manifestation goes, that's step one, you know? So like for trans people, we are people who have the sort of like courage and inner connection to ourselves enough to embody felt states and emotion states that we're not supposed to, and sort of like buck that, and then also bring that into being.
Jael shows up, and I went out to the parking lot to greet him, and he brought me a little jar with a flower in it. And he's like, hey, I brought you a flower, which like really sweet and just a nice surprise.
From his garden, too. Very
From his
nice.
garden that he had, that he had grown.
The flower. Very nice. Very sweet.
We didn't really get it on film, and I was talking to Andy about this, and Andy was like, I wish I had a second camera to have been like following you the whole time.
Yeah, because
it's also funny too. Go ahead.
Andy had already set up with me, and we were like waiting where we were like gonna all meet up together.
I talked to Andy about this, and as I was walking out to greet Jael, Andy had a thought where he's like, oh, I wish something's gonna happen that I should be filming. Like literally, Andy was like, something's gonna happen. I should be filming this somehow. Like he knew. Like he just knew.
On it. This is, I think, where it gets a little.
It starts to get cool.
It gets a little wild.
Yeah.
Jael sets off a snowball effect.
I'm Kwiatkowski. I use they, them, theirs pronouns. I just graduated college. Love my job, love my new apartment, love my cat.
I'm waiting to see if the cat pops in the frame at some point. It might. Right now, our witch is petting it, which is pretty stereotypical, if you ask me. So we go to meet with Kwiatkowski, who's our last interview for the day, and they're great. And we have a lot of interesting conversations about spirituality and practice.
Yeah, so I can go ahead if there's a question that anyone wants to ask.
I would love, we're going out tonight to do some investigations, and I'd love a reading, maybe for the three of us, even if it's one card, to if we're on kind of the right direction with what we've been doing in a show like this, and if we can keep going on this path.
At the end of the interview, they asked us, they told us that they were like, I just got an oracle deck and I'm learning to use it. Could I do an oracle reading? And we're like, yeah, of course. That sounds
cool. Yeah, pull an oracle
great.
card.
Would you like to pick since you asked the question?
I feel like I should close my eyes because they're all face up and I don't want to accidentally pick one that's... We have 42 wild winds.
And Kwiatkowski pulls a card called the Wild Winds. And the card is basically just saying, like, you're on a journey. You're on this path. And it says pay attention to, like, signs and numbers. And then the wildest part is that Kwiatkowski is like...
Do you hear the whispers in the wind? Have you ever been alone in nature when suddenly you hear a word or a sound, but no one is there? Earth Mama speaks to us in many ways, but it takes time and practice to hear her with clarity. At first, you may wonder if it's just your mind playing tricks on you. Don't allow doubt to block the wisdom of the earth. The Wild Winds card commonly appears when a spirit or the universe has sent you messages in the form of synchronicities. Thank you.
That's kind of their whole thing.
That's my whole thing.
That's their
That's actually my whole thing. Like that's my number one. Like
that's so
the paranormal
cool.
phenomena of synchronicity is like I won't stop talking about it. Rosa's so sick of hearing about it.
Have you heard the word synchronicities?
A synchronicity is the occurrence of two events that lack any causal relation but still appear intrinsically connected. I always describe synchronicity as something that happens in real life that feels like it was written in fiction. It's the feeling when any number of little pieces, seemingly disparate or disconnected, reveal themselves to be woven together by the red thread of fate. Some believe that a large number of synchronicities can suggest that you're being led towards something meaningful, or that something out there is trying to get your attention. A breadcrumb trail of synchronicities had already begun to form through investigations in New York involving my name, John Keel, my friend and professional weirdo John Tenney, and Tennessee travel plans that hadn't even been set in stone yet. On our first day in Adams, I decided I wanted to shoot an explainer for synchronicities, but forgot to schedule a when or where. So being asked to define the word by Kwiatkowski, our final interview subject for the entire investigation, felt like a synchronicity where the trigger was the word synchronicity itself. This confluence of synchronicities, however, wasn't finished with us yet, as the final piece of writing on the Wild Winds Oracle card sent us even deeper into this rabbit hole of weird.
So apparently this is probably the easiest spell you'll ever do, but you shouldn't underestimate its power. Okay, so when you pull the Wild Winds card, or when there's a message you just can't comprehend, hold the jar in one hand and the lid in the other. Stand still outside in nature, preferably in a forest or park with lots of trees surrounding you. Say aloud, "Nature spirits speak into the wild winds, that which you have intended for me to know." Wait until you feel the wind blow and scoop the wind into the jar and close the lid. Place the jar beside your bed and ask the wild winds in the jar to enter your dreams and reveal the message. When your message is revealed, thank the winds and release them back to Mother Earth.
May I see this? I'm probably gonna.
I have to
I don't
say,
write quickly enough.
I know you're so
and this is a little bit of a wild one for me. We interviewed someone earlier, and they gifted us a jar.
You're kidding.
Yeah, it was with a flower from their garden in it, like the way to transport the flower. But someone did give us a jar today, which makes me feel like we should probably do this, right? Because we do have a jar now.
Well, then we'll be back into there tomorrow too. So
Well, and we're also going to the woods, and we do have a jar. So I feel like this might be an even easier one for Fox because we do have a woods jar.
right, and then do that, and then a place to release them to.
I think we do that tonight, and then tomorrow when you're doing your full ritual, so we do it tonight. We take the message because you're gonna sleep tonight, and you're
I'm
gonna.
hoping to.
One would hope, and then tomorrow I would say before you do the ritual that you had planned for tomorrow, we just release the wind.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting. We were just at a Botanica, and I bought a Psychic Dreams oil to put on tonight. So if we have the winds, we have the oil, we put it in the bed me and Fox are in. I feel like we might get some winds, the oil dream. We do have a jar. So think about it.
We're gonna need a lid though. We're gonna need
we do have to find a lid.
We can put a lid together.
We can find a lid.
That's I want to say that's too much. It's not too much. It's exactly enough, but at the same time, that's cool though. This is, again, the thing about all of this is it turns me into like, I've got a yarn board and into the thing, but like that's, yeah.
Yeah. This is where I get excited because I was like, we got a jar.
Well, specifically Rose is like, that's weird because someone gifted us a jar today. And that's the point where you see me melt where I'm like someone gave us
Someone gave us a jar.
Literally,
we
so
have
Jael
a jar.
handed me a flower in a jar.
And then I was like, and I bought dream oil.
Ointment specifically to get psychic messages from dreams. So this is like,
we now had a lot of supplies that we didn't plan on having, but
for a spell that we didn't plan to do.
Hello?
Jael.
Hey.
Okay, so this is wild, I feel.
Yeah.
So we're recording right now. What did you give me? Just so that, because we didn't catch that, we didn't film that. What did you give me?
It's a zinnia.
It's a zinnia. But what did you put it in?
In a jar.
Here's the wild thing though. He's like that's wild because I picked that flower. He's like, I picked that flower, I got in my truck, and I drove several blocks. And then I thought, that's really hot, I should put it in something.
And I was like, you know what, it's really hot, and I don't want this beautiful flower to completely die on the way there. So I literally pulled back in the driveway, turned the truck off, went back inside, and got a jar. Filled it with water.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I feel like that adds to it. That's incredible.
I just knew it, and there was another, I did a reading for myself this morning, and one of the things that came up for me was this sort of concept of bulldozing myself.
Yeah.
Like, one part of yourself wants to do the thing, the other part doesn't, and I had a moment where I was like, I don't know. I mean, I'm actually really excited about this.
Yeah.
But when I was in the car and getting ready to leave, and I was like, oh, I'm going to be late. I shouldn't do all this fussing around. And I was like, you know what? Boom, right here. This is the moment. Don't bulldoze yourself. You want to do this thing. Do the thing right the way that you want to. Boom.
That's the fact that it's tied into a reading that you did is also completely perfect.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I wanted to call you to tell you the story, and I also wanted to thank you again for, giving us this piece of a magic ritual that we're going to do tonight.
Yeah, it's great. I'm so happy to have met you guys and to share in that magic and that synchronicity, because it is such a beautiful and a powerful thing, and experiencing it on your own is already really incredible, but when you start to share that with other people, it just, I don't know, it has some really immense power.
It was a lot of pieces coming together, a lot of pieces, and I think with how we experience synchronicities and experience this show, all these pieces coming together were
it was like an avalanche of synchronicities that all sort of came together, which is wild. So we go out the second night of investigation, And Ames comes with us, partially because they had expressed interest in joining us for one of the investigations, and partially because they were the only of our interview guests who didn't have like a hand on that ball, that giant synchronicity storm.
Yeah,
so
the giant synchronicity ball. We needed everyone to throw a hand in.
Maybe something will happen tonight and connect them more to this thing.
I think it would be okay to pull him.
Yeah. How you feeling?
Good. I couldn't catch a lot of it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
It
it's
takes
sort
a
of.
little bit of practice.
So we go down and we do a couple of things. A couple of us do the Estes. Again, I think it doesn't really pop off until I jump into it.
Or do you want to like hang out with us? Are you like a cool spirit who wants to?
Thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking. A radio.
Oh yeah, you're using a radio frequency right now. So
Down. We're talking about across. Great.
are you something that's out here in the woods with us?
Feel the one below. It's supposed to come.
Where are you right now?
It's handy.
It's Andy? Damn, Andy, the Bell Witch all along.
I knew it. I never asked.
A lot of people are saying
It's threatening.
Oh, okay. Maybe we should turn back. All right.
It's responsive. It doesn't feel as like groundbreaking as the first night of Estes stuff, but it still feels really responsive and interesting.
Yeah, I definitely felt less out there, and I don't know if it was like just like where we were, or like because it felt like less tethered to things, or like I was kind of getting like a not a like get out vibe, but not that like something was like truly pleased of us being there.
So what's really interesting too is the first night when we did the Estes, I felt like we connected with two very human things. Like they felt like a very human presence. Every other night after that, it felt like we connected with something that never was human, something that was deeply sort of like energy or nature or sort of older than that. What's really interesting is I talked to Ames later about this, and they let me know that they had felt pulled into the water. And they were like, I'm so glad I was there with people. They're like, something that felt old but not ancient, like a youngish sort of thing, felt like it was pulling them, not in a malicious, like trying to get you sort of way, but in like a, hey, come to me, join me, like something that doesn't really understand human mortality.
Yeah.
They felt straight up pulled into the water.
Here, why don't I exchange you for glasses, and I'll take this reader.
I kind of want, I'll pull this. I kind of want to switch gears, and I would like to, Fox, how do you feel about trying a Gansfeld experiment? You know what that, I'll explain it. A Gansfeld experiment is a sensory deprivation technique where the person inside listens to white noise while experiencing, usually it's some with ping pong balls and a red light. It was originally done as sort of a sensory deprivation and maybe self-hypnosis. You hear something, Andy? Mm-hmm. What'd you hear?
Just heard a car. A
car?
Yeah.
Gotcha. But it came to sort of be used for ESB and sort of psi experiments, and I have sort of a little Gansfield setup. I'd love to plug Fox in and just sort of
I'll do 3.7, 3.6.
just sort of talk about what you see. And if you don't see anything, that's fine. We can give it a minute.
So first thing, youngish girl running through the forest, kind of looking behind her, running away from something.
Spooky, I hate
That's
that.
no, I'm not a fan of that either.
I think it's going into labor.
Someone's going into labor?
The family knew about it.
A lot of strange beeps and boops coming off of Fox right now,
I'm also hearing beeps and boops.
noise-wise.
But yeah, no, I mean what I see from it is just her lying in the bed, sweating profusely, kind of looking labor-esque. with the people around as it would have been. But very hush kind of situation.
It's like a secret.
Do you want to be put in after her?
Huh?
Are you gonna go in it after her?
I think after this, I think we just do the spell.
Yeah, I feel like honestly, when I felt most connected to something was when you were
When I was in the box, yeah. I kind of want to do the spell and I think call it.
We can Gansfield tomorrow
Yeah.
instead of Estes, or do a Gansfield and an Estes. I'm fine to do.
We can, yeah, go ahead.
I'm fine to get hooked up to either.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
When something presents itself to me as a gift from that space, accepting that gift and thanking the space for it, So likewise, I had received one of these mushrooms and I took it with, and during one of the interviews, I kind of wandered off as I'm wont to do. And there was a certain part of the path that every time I walked down it, and as I went down, I found it very tense, like my hand just like clenched up. And the rest of the time I was very calm, And when I came back right at the same area, I felt just like this visceral tension there. And so as I was there, kind of on the ground, there was a little flat stone with some moss on it. And I was like, I'm going to do a nice. And so I put the mushroom down there as kind of an offering to whatever was feeling not great in this space, and kind of said a few words and made along my way. And then on the way back to meet up with everyone, and I had for a long time on the way down kind of had my eyes down, just like looking for stuff. And I hadn't seen this on the way down, but on the way back I actually found some Una moth wings, which was nice.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of a trade for a trade, and so taking that and thanking it, whatever was there. And likewise, when we got here, I found this wonderful, which I have now dubbed my new special stick. It has some leaves growing on it, despite the fact that it seems like a dead stick.
So it seems like you've already sort of engaged with whatever the energy is out there. And I think, again, the reason I was excited about the Natchez Trace is that, again, it's very like, there are witch circles, there are witch dances, and so the lore of that place. I had sort of thought maybe that would be a cool place to do the ritual that you prepared to try to commune with the Bell Witch. And, I mean, what do you think about that for tomorrow?
I think that'd be great. It feels like a very generous space.
Okay, cool.
So long as you engage with it properly, so long as you're respectful,
of course,
have gratitude and such for it.
And I think that's a great place to sort of release whatever we've taken into the jar back into nature.
Yeah.
Probably right before you do that ritual.
I think it'd be great.
Sorry, I just looked right into the camera. You
No,
can
it's
edit
okay.
that out.
Look right back into it.
This is Natchez Trace, or part of it, and it's a really long trail that stretches from Mississippi to Nashville, which is where we're at. We're kind of either at the end or the beginning, wherever you wanna look at it. And so I've had a lot of like weird, negative thoughts about this place. Just I don't even know why, but people kind of put it in my head like, this place is haunted. You don't want to go here.
Sure.
So yeah, when was the first time that you even heard about this place?
I was in a car driving back from a stand-up show in Mississippi in Tupelo with two other comics who had lived in Nashville a lot longer than me, and it was already like super scary just driving back on this winding road, and like just weird shit just kept happening. And they're like, oh yeah, we're like close to Natchez Trace, like where there's like witch dances and stuff that happen, and then there are like a lot of like really gruesome murders that happened along this whole trail and what have you. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, it's apparently like really haunted, but people like to go hiking through it. And so like this was also like at like 10 p.m. at night, driving just like on a single road trying to get back home. So that was like always my like thought about it. So I always find it interesting when people are like, beautiful Natchez Trace, we're gonna go walk around here, and I'm like, oh no.
So the next day, we drive out
Back to the
Natchez Trace, because it felt like when we'd been there the day before, Fox had felt like connected to it, and I know it was like, this is a witch place, and we brought a witch. So if we're gonna do, the plan for the final night of investigation is for Fox to do a ritual to try to summon the Bell Witch. Which way, which one, where to? You face a choice and your indecision grows more awkward every moment. How long can you hold out? Blind faith, intuition, or a lucky guess will guide you. There is so much to be gained if you will act. You need only change one thing for it all to be changed. I think what feels cool about that to me is like, this is sort of a blind moment for us. We're placing faith into what we've learned and how we've sort of investigated in the past couple days, what we've learned from the people we've talked to. I think the indecision is sort of, we've spent a little bit of time putzing around, like figuring out like exactly where we wanted to do this and do this part, but I think we should just get into it. I think there's a lot to be gained, and I think we just sort of jump into what we wanted to do here tonight. Oh, we totally forgot. You did have a weird dream experience.
I had a couple dreams. My first one was kind of a lucid-ish dream. However, I couldn't control. I was like between asleep and awake, couldn't control it. And I don't usually see things in my dreams. Like, I'm a very audio person. I don't see like images. And I saw the image of birds. It felt different than like how dreams usually are. Like, I felt like I was both awake and asleep. Like, I wasn't fully in either space, which is strange. I've never had it. Yeah. That's not how I.
It also, you said it was just in like a circle. Like,
it was in my, like, usually dreams, like, you feel like you're just walking around, like, right, you're in your body and you're walking around. Even the boring ones, like, you're in a space at least. Yeah. This was like me watching a movie in an old, like, through an old camera. This was like me. I did not feel like I was moving. I felt like very much I was still in the bed, and this was being played to me. And it was just a circle, like kind of a vignette hole almost. And it felt like it was in my forehead. It didn't feel like it was.
Which is where the ointment had been applied.
Yeah, which is where we put the ointment. It felt like it was where I had dabbed the oil. So, that felt important. I believe they were grackles. We've taken some time to research what they were today. I believe they're grackles.
We don't have a payoff on this dream. We don't really know what this meant. It was really interesting. A lot of times blackbirds are sort of seen as a negative omen. I don't really read it as that. It didn't feel ominous, I don't think.
It felt a little ominous, but I don't know if it was because of the birds or if it was truly just the feeling of not being able, like, having a new experience that is non-controllable.
Normally I don't dream, but I didn't have, or normally I do dream.
Yeah.
But I didn't actually have any dreams last night. I did the third eye anointing as well, but I didn't have any dreams throughout the course of the evening. Once everyone was up and about in the morning, I woke up briefly and then I went back to sleep after everyone left. And I did have a dream at that point, which was pretty, which was very visceral and very clear.
Yeah.
Which I didn't feel a lot of like emotion from it or a lot of like anxiety. And just for trigger warning purposes, I'm not going to really go into it, and I don't feel comfortable going into it.
Yeah.
But it was very much about not being in control and being in a position that you're not able to have any like bodily autonomy or control over, which I didn't really think a lot about until really just now. But whenever it was mentioned about it actually being a spirit that was put into.
Oh, interesting. I wonder if maybe the spirit was sort of just struggling to get out.
Yeah, a place, but it was about like someone like forcibly having control over you.
Yeah, interesting. A friend of mine who is a necromancer named Mortellus lets me know, like, hey, you might have captured a spirit in that, so don't expose the jar to sunlight, which we hadn't. And they're like, yeah, if you expose it to sunlight, it could be like damaging to the spirit in there.
Yeah, if we accidentally cut a spirit.
So we wrap it up sort of like light tight, can't see it. And they're like, and probably like give it some rum when you release it just to sort of appease it. And so for the safety of the spirit, oh, Rosa, do you have that wine?
Yeah, it's in the fridge.
Amazing.
So it's like, yeah, I'll buy a can of wine because we just need like some wine. We don't need a bottle. And so I'm looking at all the cans of wine, and like most of them are like, like Babe Rosé or whatever, like, like bad canned wine. One of them I was like, oh, this one looks fine because it has it has a bunch of like snakes and berries and like skulls, and it's like, it's kind of like dark,
spooky.
Yeah, it's like dark purple and
spooky
green, you know. So I was kind of joking with Andy, and I was like, Andy, like, it's getting too spooky for you? Was last night too spooky? And I was like, oh, do you believe in this stuff, Andy? Like, I'm just, you know, being a dick. But Andy was like, oh, yeah, well, actually, like, you know, this was really interesting. I wasn't that, like, I felt spooky, like, things were spooky last night, but I'm not, like, I wasn't, like, super scared. I was like, so what has to happen? Like, do we have to be, like, chased by a Frankenstein for you to be scared? You know, joking around.
That'd be pretty scary, though.
That would be pretty. And he goes, oh, probably snakes.
So Fox upends the wine, releases the jar, and starts to set up for the ritual that she's gonna do.
There's like some incense she's staking in the ground. There's some other.
You acknowledge the four cardinal directions. You acknowledge the wind and the four elements, and Fox picks up this staff that she had found earlier in the Natchez Trace, the day before, and pretty quickly after she picks that up, from the left,
we see a snake.
A snake. And we're originally like, what kind of snake is that? I'm like, maybe it's like, it's small. It's probably not that big of a deal. It's not small. I thought it was small.
It's not small.
I'm very wrong about the size of the snake.
Yeah, I wonder if Snake did want me to come out of the circle.
Yeah, no, stay in the circle. If a snake is trying to seduce a woman out of a circle, that seems like a bad sign.
Yeah, it's probably true.
And I have this little nagging voice inside my head that's like, there's another snake that's gonna come. Like, I literally am like, we're gonna see multiple snakes.
Which, we looked into it, it is kind of the copperhead mating season. It wasn't like directly in it,
No.
so usually copperheads are never found in like that close to each other. This is the one time a year which this isn't the strangest thing, but however, this was still strange in every other thing about how
another
they were
snake
acting.
shows up is what
we
we're
get a
getting
second
at.
snake
From the right, like coming out of the bushes,
like flanking us.
Now these two snakes continue to just hover. They're by us, they're like rearing up. They are staring again at Fox, which is weird because she's doing this summoning ritual.
I mean, this feels magic. I mean, like, I know we're scared, but it feels magical to me.
I agree, especially because of Dionysus.
Yep. Fox, the snake is coming towards you, Fox, and I'm actually a little bit nervous about it because it is actually coming straight towards you.
I am a little worried that possibly that Fox somehow communed with a snake.
Eventually, we do leave. Fox doesn't want to leave. Fox feels very safe, and like, I'm not gonna say like Fox would get bitten by a snake if she stayed in there, but I also I'm not willing to risk that when we're filming.
Here's the thing. I love that Fox felt safe. I would have gotten bitten by the snake. I was not in a I truly believe that like these snakes wished me bad intent. I don't.
But it didn't feel like they wished bad intent to me. It just felt like they were like, hey,
get out.
This is not your space right now.
So yeah,
we got chased out of the woods by some snakes. Well, me and Dash did. Would you want to say how it felt being out there
you can talk about that a little bit if you want.
I felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
Do you think the snakes were talking for you, or were they just living their lives, having a little day?
I think for the most part they were having a little day. And I've actually done. I went out with a friend of mine who studies copperheads before, and just knowing the nature of them, like they really don't actually mess with people too much. I kind of just, generally speaking, they just have little days. Like usually they're just kind of cruising around.
Sure.
And if they get too close and they feel threatened, they're more likely going to turn around and be like, oh, beep.
Yeah.
And
the weird thing to me is I grew up like hiking in a lot of places with snakes, and honestly the thing that felt like interesting from this experience for me was usually when you like walk, you're walking around, you're talking, you're being loud, there's like people, they usually just like kind of jut off after they see you, and these ones like were looking at me and like staying with me, and like one, when Dash's partner Jules left with like this like to walk out, one of the snakes followed them as they walked out, like almost it was saying like, yes, here's the door, please go. So I think for me, maybe they wanted you alone, but I felt very like they did not want me.
I picked up the same thing, and I think one of the things that we're in nature a lot with this, and we've been dealing with a lot of nature, and there's been a lot of like last night felt really comfortable and welcoming, and like even though there were bugs, like it felt really like this is a safe place for you to be. And I think just the fact that we got sort of pincer movement flanked by a set of copperhead snakes, and the fact that again, like when you would show a light, like they were like eyes locked on you for a lot of it. And so to me, at least what I was picking up was they were keenly aware that something was happening, and it didn't feel like natural snake behavior. It felt like these snakes were aware of something. And I, in an effort to be respectful to the forest and forest things and nature things, the vibe that I was completely getting was like, this isn't the place for us to be right now,
I felt like I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's interesting because when
totally.
we left, did it feel good?
It felt wonderful.
See, like maybe we had to leave for like the moment to happen, because like I think maybe it wasn't pushing her out, it was pushing us out and Andy.
It was a really fitting end, I feel, to this investigation, because when you get into the Bell Witch story, it starts with John Bell shooting at an animal he doesn't understand. And I feel like you look at that sort of interaction with nature, and I think for us being there, seeing those snakes, it was very much like, hey, this is nature, this is spooky, how are you going to engage? And for us, in the right engagement felt like a disengagement, to be like, hey, you know what, we're going to respect this, we're not going to come at this with violence, or because we're not trying to attack snakes, we're not trying to mess with snakes.
Yeah, I don't need to.
I like snakes.
I don't need to fight a snake.
And it just felt like a very much like, it felt tied in with the owl and the praying mantis and all the bats and all the other animals that we've sort of like seen acting maybe like larger than life or big. It felt like a very like natural world instruction, and the instruction was to not be there. It felt like a good sort of like wrap up for the investigation, to me at least.
I didn't know what we were going to find coming out here to Tennessee and Clarksville or Adams, wherever we've sort of been this weekend. I didn't expect to find anything. I never wanted this show to be a show where we're gonna catch Bigfoot on camera, because that's disingenuous and sensationalist, and I think very silly. I think we met a lot of interesting people, and I think we had an experience that was magical and fantastical and interesting. I think about the Bell Witch, and I don't even like calling it that because I don't like naming it after this family, but I think a lot about how this entity was used as a smokescreen for evils perpetrated by the men in that time. The evils of John Bell participating in a system of slavery, the evils of Betsy's teacher taking advantage of a young girl. I think about those evils, and I think about this entity that just existed and was powerful and maybe dangerous, but not evil, right? And I'm not saying men, it's not about maleness being evil. I think a lot about what Jael talked to us about in terms of redefining masculinity and what being male can mean. And I think that's powerful. And I think that gender alchemy is a lot of, I think, what being trans is about. When I think about the evils of humanity using this entity, the Bell Witch, as a smokescreen to deflect away from it, I think a lot about how politicians today treat trans people and queer people. There's this fear mongering, right? To hold power, they tell you that trans people want to go in bathrooms or queer people are going to recruit your kids, and it's the same. I feel that same kinship. I think strangeness and queerness are linked intrinsically. And I think I can't explain everything that happened this weekend. I think it was really magical, and I'm not done. I don't know where we're going next, but we're going somewhere, and we'll see you there, I guess.
Oh, hey, what's up?
Rosa, I've been thinking about what happened in the woods and everything leading up to it, and I feel like we got it wrong a little bit.
Okay, how so?
Les got it wrong, and I think we just focused on the wrong thing. I think that on the first night of investigation, we were very clearly in communication and directed by a thing that we sort of jokingly called the gay director ghost. And I think that it set us up with a narrative about the jar synchronicity and the spell synchronicity and the snake synchronicity. And I feel like that led to your dream of a black bird. And the person who I've been talking to, just a friend of mine who's a magic practitioner, this whole time while we were shooting, their whole thing is black birds, and that's their logo and their iconography. And I was talking to them, and it's crazy, but it connected to the name that's been haunting me and like surrounding my life for the past 6 years. Yeah, Robert Graves.
Robert Graves.
That's in this now. That's connected to this now. Okay. And I feel like I know where we have to go next, and I feel like we have to go to North Carolina.